Thank you very much to everyone who had an early start to be here to join us for this side event named Advancing Research, Innovation and Technology in Humanitarian Mine Action. This event is co-hosted by the Mine Action Agency of the Republic of Azerbaijan and UNDP. The aim of this side event is to explore ways to enhance efficiency and safety of mine action by introducing innovative methods, tools, and technologies. The focus will be on Azerbaijan, but we certainly want to draw on international best practices. My name is Steinar Resen, and I'm the UNDP Global Advisor on Mine Action. And I have, over the last 5 years, had the pleasure of being, at least part-time, a member of the Azerbaijan Mine Action team. So it's a great honor for me to be the moderator of this session. So why do ANAMA have such a strong focus on innovation and research in mine action? As many of you might know, Azerbaijan have a suspect hazardous area with the size of Lebanon. It's a massive area that in most contexts will take decades to clear. But the government of Azerbaijan have what they call the Great Return Plan. They have an ambition to return 800,000 people back to this area within a few years. And that means that traditional survey clearance method isn't sufficient. ANAMA need to find ways to speed up, improve efficiency, and maintain quality of operations. ANAMA has acknowledged that international cooperation is key for its success, and they are eager to draw on international best practices. Many of you might have been invited to one of the 3 international mine action conferences hosted by the ANAMA and the government of Azerbaijan. Not only hosted, but paid by the government of Azerbaijan. I think there are few national authorities out there who have shown a stronger national ownership than we have seen in Azerbaijan. 95% of the funding to mine action in Azerbaijan is actually covered by the government of Azerbaijan. But ANAMA have ambitions not only to improve efficiency in Azerbaijan, they also have an ambition to contribute to the global mine action industry, and they are currently exploring the opportunity to establish an international center of excellence in Azerbaijan. And I think that's one of the issues we want to discuss. Is there really a need for an international mine action center of excellence in Azerbaijan? What should it focus on? Who will have the pleasure of using it? And so on. So before addressing the panelists, I would ask my very good friend Samir, he's the deputy chairman of ANAMA, to give his opening remarks. Samir, please.
Thank you very much, Steinar. Thank you very much for a good introduction of Azerbaijan Mine Action. Dear friends, distinguished guests, dear colleagues and partners, welcome to our side event, Advancing Research, Innovation and Technology in Humanitarian Mine Action. It is a great honor to stand here before you today representing the Mine Action Agency of the Republic of Azerbaijan and to share our country's experience, challenges and vision for the future of mine action in our country. For Azerbaijan, Landmine contamination is not just a technical challenge. It is a national priority. The impact of landmines and explosive remnants of war extends far beyond the immediate physical threat. It disrupts lives, slows down post-conflict reconstruction, and severely hinders socio-economic recovery. Today, vast areas of Azerbaijan remain heavily contaminated, posing a serious risk to former internally displaced persons eager to return home, and to also is a larger impediment for the government's large-scale reconstruction and rehabilitation program. It hinders rebuilding of infrastructure, restoring livelihoods, and ensuring long-term stability. Despite these challenges, the government of Azerbaijan has demonstrated unwavering commitment to addressing the landmine crisis. Over the past decades, Azerbaijan has made significant progress in mine clearance, victim assistance, and risk education, investing in national capacity and strengthening partnerships with international organizations. However, we recognize that traditional demining methods alone are not sufficient to meet the scale and complexity of the contamination we face. We need innovation, new technologies, and strong international collaboration to accelerate clearance efforts and make humanitarian mine action more effective. That is why Azerbaijan is taking bold steps to integrate cutting-edge research, innovation, and technology into mine action. Emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, drones, remote sensing offer new opportunities to accelerate land release, enhance safety, and optimize resources. However, mine action sector still lacks a systematic approach to research and development in this field. We must close this gap by investing in the future of mine action. To address this, Azerbaijan is planning to establish the International Center of Excellence in Training in Mine Action in the territory of the Republic of Azerbaijan. This will serve as a global platform for advancing research, innovation, and capacity building in mine action. With Azerbaijan 25 plus years of experience, diverse terrain for testing and of new technologies and systems, and strong institutional commitment, we're confident that our international center will play a transformative role in shaping the future of mine action. Through this center, we aim to foster cross-sector collaboration between governments, academia, and the private sector, provide a hub for testing and scaling up new technologies in real-world mine-affected environments, and strengthen regional and global partnerships to advance best practices. We believe that through research and innovation, we can significantly reduce the time, cost, and risk involved in mine clearance and ultimately save more lives. Today's discussion is an opportunity for all of us to share ideas, forge new collaborations, and explore ways to ensure that innovation becomes a driving force in our collective mission. I encourage all of you to engage actively in this dialogue as we work towards a safer mine-free future. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward for a productive side event today and exchange of ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Samir. Thank you for setting the scene, and thank you for confirming the commitment of the government of Azerbaijan and ANAMA to contribute to innovation, improving the sector. So what is ongoing in Azerbaijan? What have they achieved so far? Let me introduce the first speaker, another good friend from Azerbaijan, Elnur. Elnur is actually a mine survivor, so he knows better than most the importance of mine action. He's been in mine action for the last 2 decades. I guess that's more or less the same as Samir. And he's currently the head of the quality control department. And I know from experience that Elnor is not just an excellent deminer, but he's a very good speaker. So I look forward to your presentation, Elnor. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this is Elnor Gasimov, Head of Quality Control Department. And as it's been said by Mr. Samer Poladov, our Deputy Chairman, in 2020, when Azerbaijan restored its territorial integrity, it faced with the challenges such as 11,667 square kilometers of estimated contaminated area. So after the liberation of the territories, Azerbaijan faced with this kind of problem, with the massive contamination with landmines, explosive ordnance, and as you can see in the urban areas, it was impossible to organize the return of 800,000 people, because as you see, there is no normal building and areas are mixed with the ordnance, minefields, and also unpatterned minefields, which is very difficult to distinguish. And Azerbaijan decided by all means to provide safety for construction workers in order to create an environment for the people that will be returned. And luckily, Azerbaijan provides almost 95% of funding for the demining, and also established a necessary teams and units in order to eliminate the risk for the people that will be returned. Most of the threats comes from the anti-personnel landmines that we see on the top left side, anti-tank mines on the top middle, bounding fragmentation mines, ordnance that left in the battlefields mixed with the mines, and which is very difficult to distinguish. And it's we have challenges to work according to the IMAS, because IMAS says that firstly we have to conduct non-technical survey to gather data, and if there is no signs of contamination, we have to cancel this area and mainly focus on the area of concern. But so as there is no one to conduct interview, and demining activities mostly focused on the technical survey. Besides the landmines, areas of concern contain the different types of booby traps and improvised explosive ordnance. During the survey, we faced that the landmines also located in the areas without any military necessity, such as cemeteries and yards far away from the military positions, and which provides additional challenges and problems for decision making. Besides the civilian areas, we see the historical places that also contain landmines, and as many times we're faced with the forest fires. And many organizations started to blame each other that it's very sensitive, why did you burn it? And we understood that sometimes mines and ordnance may explode by themselves. For example, you can see the AP mine on the right side. Imagine when the tree becomes bigger, it starts to push on a pressure plate and it explodes. And especially in the summertime, it starts to burn, which creates additional challenges during demining. We also have a problem with the environment. As you see, the mines left in the areas, in the forests, they even go by rivers after water flow to the more safer places that we didn't expect to find them. The demining teams find the landmines on the trees and even under the ground on the wells. There are wells named Kahriz, it's very popular, and I would say ancient water supply, underground water supply, which have been built many years ago in a sort of tunnels, and we find them because when we will hand over the territories for the civilians, it's not just important to provide just 20 centimeters underground without mines. It's also important to interfere to those places as well. Unfortunately, the total number of victims is more than 3,400. Just after 2020, 70 people killed in the liberated territories and 322 people injured. The total number after 2020 is 392. The last 3 incidents happened just last week, when one of them was one family was walking and father exploded in front of their kids and wife. Another one was our deminer, he lost his leg, and the third person was the young soldier who stepped on a mine. So imagine if the access of people haven't been prevented, so the number of injuries and killed people could be more than maybe 2,000, because it's a totally controlled area and you can enter to those regions only by permission. And the incident happened when the people cross the tapes, don't pay attention to the warning signs. In 2020, when the Azerbaijan liberated its territory, on the top and right side you can see a line. It was a formal line of contact. We assumed that the more dense minefields will be faced there between 2 forces. But unfortunately, each red dot shows us the place of incidents and accidents that give us an idea that not just a formal line of contact and all the territory is actually contaminated. And that's why the technical survey and non-technical survey put more efforts to identify the potential threat. As you see on the right side, 153 incidents happened just beyond the formal line of contact. Since 2020 till now, the total area is released from the landmines are more than 192,000 hectares. And anti-personnel mines, more than 36,000, and anti-tank mines, more than 21,000. And more than 58,000 landmines found just in the last 4.5 years. And the unexploded ordnance found more than 134,000 found and destroyed. The total operational people involved into the demining in mine action program in Azerbaijan is almost 3,000, including the mine action actors, and 182 mine detection dogs and 87 demining machines are now operating in Azerbaijan. In the map you see different colors. It means different organizations involved into the demining operations. And below each yellow stick means that each found and destroyed landmine. In here you can see the statistics. For example, I'm not going to go through all statistics, just please pay attention to the top 2021. The area cleared more than 20,000 hectares in 2021. And to personnel mines, more than 18,000. If you pay attention, year by year, the number of mines are decreasing, but it doesn't mean that the mine problem is finishing. It's because Azerbaijan understood that if it will be focused on just the high dense areas, it will gonna take a lot of time and people will wait decades. And that's why Azerbaijan started to fence the high density areas and focused mainly on the areas that needs to be restored. In the right side of my slide, you can see different logos. ANAMA is a National Mine Action Authority, which you see on the top. And below, Ministry of Defense, State Border Service, Ministry of Emergency Situations, 1 NGO and 4 commercial companies, including foreign operators. ANAMA is a civilian organization, but it has an authority to accredit the Defense, Border Service, and Ministry of Emergency Services, and it conducts external monitoring and quality control. And all these organizations and ministries act according to a single Great Return Program. It's our strategy. And every year, all of us know that where and which place for what purposes which area needs to be released. So it's completely coordinated between institutions, and recently the National Mine Action law is approved in Azerbaijan, so that all these organizations and demining companies will work according to the one law and national mine action standards. I would like to show you some pictures from the manual demining operations. We have mine detection dogs that mainly we use for technical survey in order to find a main area of concern, real minefield in a huge suspected territory. Additionally, we have the mine detection rats from Apopo. It's a Belgian organization acting also in Azerbaijan. We use different types of mechanical demining machines for technical survey in order to reduce the area and find real minefield in the big territory. We have more than 30 armored excavators, dozers, because if you conduct the operations in the destroyed villages or settlements, it's very heavy, and the deminers cannot use this, rubbles away. That's why we involved in many machines. And also the female deminers. It's already 2 years that Azerbaijan trained female deminers, and with the help of the US and EU, and with the support of UNDP, demining female teams also acting. As one of the pillars of mine action, it's very important to conduct risk education, because at the same time we cannot be at every corner of the liberated territory, and the people and construction workers need to stay alive in a hazardous area, and in order to provide their safety, they're educated on the safety precautions. It is a typical view in the liberated territories, and after the clearance, when the land is released, and construction companies immediately start, because they always in contact and ask, when you will finish my territory, I am on delay as well. So imagine hundreds of organizations in a huge area in daily communication, ask for certificates, when you will start, when you will finish. So it's an example of the outcome of the demining. And here we see the areas that how it looked before and after the demining operations. You can see settlements, you can see smart villages with the high technologies for the villagers, and the airports, how it looks like after the land release. You see the roads and bridges, and as we know, it's you cannot make the internal displaced people happy with giving him just one good house. It's very important to provide hospitals, schools, infrastructure, gas, water pipeline. And without this, return will not be sustainable. They will have to go back to where they came from. And that's why the Azerbaijan is building very nice cities for them so that they will stay there and work and be happy. Azerbaijan declared its 18th Sustainable Development Goal, which is a mine action activity in Azerbaijan. And here we have flags and logos, the countries that supported mine action in Azerbaijan and the organizations that supported the mining activities. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Elner. Very impressive. I've had the pleasure numerous times to come into the territory and see the transformation. The speed of reconstruction is just incredible. How they build airports, railways, highways in a matter of months is remarkable. I've never seen anything like it. So well done to the government of Azerbaijan and ANAMA for that massive task. I'm sure there's a lot of questions, but please keep them for the ending. We will have time for a Q&A session. But let's move to the next speaker, and let's move outside this region. I'm very pleased to introduce Ratna. She's the director of the ASEAN Regional Mine Action Center. I believe you've had the position now in a couple of years at least, so we can't say new anymore, but she has brought a lot of energy into the Regional Mine Action Center in Southeast Asia. We are eager to hear what you are doing, what the RMAC is doing on technologies and innovation. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Steiner, and also thank for UNDP and ANAMA for hosting this side event. And I am honored to be part of the panelists during this side event. So before we start, I want a quick introduction about AMAC. So AMAC is the Asian entity established during the ASEAN Summit in 2012 by the Asian leaders. So our center established, the permanent secretariat not established until 2017. So in terms of structures, as you can see in the slide, so we have 10 countries as our member state, including affected and non-affected member state. And our work is follow as the Asian procedures. We have the chairman, like this year, we got Malaysia as a chairman, and next year we'll be moving for Philippines. So let's go back to our topic for today. So if we're looking at in terms of what we discussion, I'm gonna put back in the question like, what is the innovation in mine action? So if we say that innovation, we need to be clear what we mean about the innovation that we refer to, especially in mine action. Innovation is not just about technology, like AIs, ground sensor, or robotic, but also method, like smarter land release approach, better quality assurance, or re-education. So even the funding model, like the systematic bonds or battle pledge, are part of innovations. And maybe more importantly, if we're looking at like collaboration, new way of working between field team, engineering, community, and beneficiary as well. So innovation is the sum of these together. It's doing things better, faster, and be more relevant to those affected. So at AMAC, we're not inventing hardware, but we are making innovation relevant, accessible, and we share. So here is the few things in the slide that we want to share with you today, and we have developed the Victim Assistance Network tool. This tool it is to ensure that the victim support is based on real data, not the guesswork, but it helps guide resources where they are needed. So, and we're going to launch this tool in June in Cambodia. Another tool that we're working on as well is on the re-education. We have testing promoting on safe chatbots. It's an AI powered tool that deliver EOA message via app. So it doesn't matter, it's not a new application, it's built based on any current platform or the communication in each country, like through WhatsApp, Messenger, Telegram, or maybe other like Line, example for Thailand. So any other platform that have in each country, we build based on that. So it's not a new application that everyone needs to be downloaded and using it. So just create a QR, which is you can scan, and you can asking the question straight away, and it's 24-hour available. So if you're looking at why we put as safe, safe is stand for save for all from free, save all from free explosive. So this one, it has been built into, currently we're testing on 5 UN language plus Korean and Japan, but in the purpose that we're going to apply in our region, it's going to be adapted in local language. So the aim for this one is for the local community accessible, immigration and the remote people in the provinces. So add on to this one, I would say to thank to GICHD for hosting the Innovation Technology Workshop. This is where we invented for, when bring all the experts together, and after come back, this is the result that what we come from to this one. So also this project we design, we are building on innovation is from the start, not as the afterthought, working with partner on multi-innovation project, mapping tool, and gender inclusive approach as well. So more importantly, we are helping coordinate innovation across ASEAN, so the lesson learned that we learned from Cambodia can benefit to Laos PDO, and what we can testing in Vietnam can be adopted in Thailand, for example. So if we're looking at in terms of the gap, the question is, do we have the gap? Yes, of course, we had the gap. So, but we see this is the challenge is also the good lesson learned for us. There is a growing interest in innovation, which is very great. But in practice, many tools we are developed without enough input from the field level. Organizations do their own trial, including us as well. But we don't always share what works and what doesn't work. And even the promised innovation often stay stuck in the pilot phase. So also, with many of tools we have built with assumption, but without enough involvement of my action expert. So this is another key point, and that's why where the gap is, and the gap that I'm working on is to bridging connection, the field knowledge with those who are creating the solution. So we're not hidden, we will share on the failure and also the success to the sector as a whole. So for the ASEAN is one of the most diverse and also dynamic region for the mine action. I believe that you hear a lot about our regions, and there's many side events from yesterday as well that it come from our region as well. So, and we have jungle, dry land, also urban zone, and also the flood-prone area, all within the same regions. And we have active mine action program in Cambodia, in Lao Pido, in Myanmar, in Thailand, and also support across the others. This MAC ASEAN is a perfect test, and also the good landscape that everyone can be accessible that to be testing in your tool, if you would like to. So that what its work is on getting can be tested in others, quickly practical, and with the regional input. AMAC role is to make that easier, coordinating field trial, encourage share result, and creating space where it's a good idea. Don't stop at the borders. So to make this sustainable, AMAC proposed an idea for a regional innovation nodes. And for mine actions, to complementary with what GICHD Innovation Hub, where it's a regional information can share across multi-regional, SOT, and partners. So we are not proposing the big new structures, but it's just a practical space to connect the dots. This is this node cloud. It hosts shared database of the field testing tool and coordinate pilot testing different ASEAN member states. And especially to match with developer with the field user and support the capacity building around adaptation and scaling. So this could be done with partner like International Center of Excellence, CETMA for Azerbaijan, and GICHD example, and also the UN agency that who work across in this area and link to the global platform. We don't want innovation to be competition. We want it to be share the progress. So we go back to our topic back again. We're starting from mine to mine, so I'm gonna end it back from mine to mine. So let us end where we begin, and with the theme of from mine to mine, innovation is not just about the speed or efficiency, but it's about making sure that our work is more informed, inclusive, and effective. AMAC is committed to that role, bridging the need of community and operator with the tool insight and partnership that can support them. So let us not leave innovation in the lab or in the concept nodes. So let us bring into the field together. So thank you. So I'm going to leave this slide for here. So I said about the SAFE before. This is where we do it, and this is the tool that we're aiming for. And if you're interested to test, my college also have the QR code for you that it's available for testing as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ratna. Very informative. I think you throw out a lot of good ideas. We obviously have a lot to learn from the ASEAN region, and UNDP, we are in the process of renewing our MOU, our partnership with the ASEAN Regional Mine Action Center, as we believe they can be a very useful tool to ensure cross-border cooperation, sharing of information. So thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to the next speaker, and a speaker that doesn't really need to be introduced, but I'm going to do it anyway, Ian. For those who has been in the mine action sector for a while, you will know that Ian Mansfield was maybe the first one of the first. He set up the Afghan mine action program back in the early 1990s. He actually had my job also maybe back in the 90s as the global advisor for UNDP mine action work. He was deputy director of GICHD for at least a decade, and has been serving as the secretary for the Mine Action Support Group for years. But maybe most importantly, he's been a very important consultant for UNDP. And one of the tasks that he's been doing in recent years was a feasibility study on the value, the relevance of International Center of Excellence for Mine Action in Azerbaijan. So Ian, share some of your findings. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Steiner, for that kind introduction. Yes, I work as a consultant in mine action, and last year I was approached to do a feasibility study of the idea of Azerbaijan, ANAMA, establishing a regional mine action centre. As you've heard, I've been around for 30 years, and I would say it's fair to say every mine action program, every national mine action program, at some stage thinks we should be the regional centre. So I approached this job with a bit of scepticism, but I must admit I was pleasantly surprised at the end of it. The background to the study is last year I was approached, terms of reference were developed, quite comprehensive. They had about 20 points, and then I did document reviews and I visited Azerbaijan twice. I was well looked after by Mr. Samir Polidov and his team, and I visited all those areas that you saw in the first presentation there. And then I provided a debrief in the 5th of September 24 back to the government about the findings. And my findings were that establishing an international centre of excellence and training in Azerbaijan would be feasible, but there were some conditions that needed to be met. The first one was structure and governance. Now, ANAMA is established as the National Mine Action Authority, and it has certain provisions in its regulations. One is it can establish companies, it must conform to government rules and regulations, but my advice was if it's going to be an international centre, it should be able to receive funding from other sources. It should be a self-accounting cost centre separate from ANAMA, and it would report to the chairman of ANAMA but have its own steering board. I looked at setting up a completely independent body or something under ANAMA, and like any government process, setting up an independent body would take years to get the necessary legislation and rules in place. So my advice was to look at it under the structure of ANAMA. This is just a rough organisation chart. The blue boxes are ANAMA's existing organisation. So then I saw in yellow there an international steering committee, and then a director of this centre, and then various regional officers. I then looked at the needs. What are the needs for training in the world today? So ANAMA has done training courses and work with its neighbours in the past. So it has a track record and has experience in doing this already. As you see, it's done work in Afghanistan, Georgia, Tajikistan and Turkey. There are other affected regions in the other countries in the region that have training needs. Ukraine has huge training needs itself. I know it aspires to be a regional centre in the future, but they're still busily engaged in war and clearing their own mines. Azerbaijan has the advantage of being Russian speaking, so it has an advantage in that world. And it already has requests from Ukraine to undertake certain training. We heard in other presentations, Lebanon had a very effective regional centre that did training in the Middle East, and sadly that's had to stop work. So there are opportunities, if you like, for training, and there'll be training needs in the Middle East as well. And we've heard at this meeting about Yemen, Afghanistan, facing difficulties of funding and financing, and they will have training needs that are probably unmet at the moment. I said, it should be international, but the focus should be on Eurasia because of language, geography, travel, and so on. And I'll come to partnerships in a moment, but they also have the opportunity to train in Azeri language, in Russian, and in English. There are other training centres, so I said they need to look at specialist training areas. Mine action and the environment, as you heard, they've had this land that's been laying dormant for 15, 20 years that's been affected by landmines, and so there are environmental issues in terms of this large-scale clearance. Clearly, the development issue that was outlined in the first presentation. Training, they have a large organisation, well established, good structures, and they have experience in the management of mine action programs that they can pass on to other people. Using the information management system, they've done work in the gender aspects, ammunition management, animal detection and mechanical. So ANAMA has the full range of the mine action toolbox and will be able to conduct training in that regard. The topic today is about innovation and research and development. Again, I recommended they should partner with local universities and organisations, partner with the Geneva Centre, and then arrange regional innovation technology workshops. And probably the biggest advantage I see they have at the moment is they have real minefields available. I noted in Rothen's presentation, we don't need simulations, we have the real world. Well, in Azerbaijan, they can make real minefields available to technology organisations to conduct trials under the exact field conditions. I looked at the competition. It's not a game, we're not Donald Trump, but there are other centres around the world that do this type of thing. As I mentioned, Lebanon had a very effective regional centre, and unfortunately they've had to stop work. So there is a gap now in the Middle East for that. Croatia has a very effective R&D and mechanical testing facility. They accredit machines and so on. But Croatia looks like finishing its mine clearance by the end of next year. Will that centre continue? Will it still be needed, and that type of thing. Asia, we heard about ARMAC and the possibilities for cooperation with them. Tajikistan has a training centre, but it's focused quite heavily on the military. Benin has a training centre, again, it's in French language and deals with the military. Kenya has a military training centre hosted by the British. Kosovo has a private thing, the Mine Action Technology Training Centre, so you have to pay money to go and attend those courses. Serbia and the UK, and there are others around the world, but there is competition, but there are opportunities because of the global situation at the moment. I strongly recommended you can't do this alone. You've got expertise in many areas, but you need partnerships, and the obvious ones have already been mentioned: the Geneva International Centre, the ICRC, James Madison University that runs the management training courses, the International Trust Fund in Slovenia, other UN agencies, and then other NGOs. So there's a range of partners that could be drawn into this regional centre. The risks, one is just delays with implementation. You have a good idea, you start to progress, and then things happen. Change in government policies, and we've seen this. I read last week the government has suggested that it doesn't need UN development agencies in country anymore and would prefer to work on a regional basis. There's always a shortage of staff. New and emerging competitors. As I said, Ukraine certainly has aspirations to become a leader in this because of their current experience, but as I say, they're occupied at the moment. Lack of interest or lack of funding. I looked at location. The first idea was one centre, but depending on the type of training, I foresee that there may be something in Baku and then something in Goigul, a major centre, and then field locations as well. But these are details that could be looked at later. And then I suggested an implementation plan to start to look at a feasibility study, which I understand has been followed up with an implementation study already. Sort of a slow start, or soft opening, as they say, toward the end of this year, and then full operation by the middle of next year. When I presented this, Mr. Samir said, gosh, why is it taking so long? But I still stick by my suggested timeline there, but good luck if you do better. Other considerations, this is clearly seen as a joint venture between ANAMA and UNDP. The establishment of the centre shouldn't hinder their current work. This is the priority for ANAMA at the moment, to clear landmines in Azerbaijan. There needs to be agreement, because ANAMA owns all the equipment and facilities at the moment. If this centre was established, there'd need to be agreements about the sharing of equipment, facilities and so on. And in the longer term, I see this centre could take over the responsibility. Steiner mentioned there's been 3 of these annual national mine action meetings in the past. This centre could host those. It could run other workshops, particularly on innovation. You could look at training for mine action peacekeepers. There is a need for peacekeeping troops to be accredited to go on peacekeeping missions, and this could be an opportunity. They could look at forming a regional association, sort of along the lines of what ARMAC has done in Southeast Asia. Peace-building activities, particularly with neighbouring countries, and then mobile training teams that could go to other countries to conduct the training there. So I said it was feasible, but we'd need to clarify the legal considerations that ANAMA can do this. Any training would need to be in line with ICETMA, the International Mine Action Standards, and currently the national standards were still being processed for approval when I was there. Some of the land release procedures need updating. I suggested they would help if they joined the Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention in terms of the credibility of the country and its commitment. It should allow access to people from other countries to come to Azerbaijan, and then finalise an MOU with the Geneva Centre, and then make the agreements about use of land and facilities and so on. So the next steps that I suggested was that they needed to approve their National Mine Action Standards, sign an MOU with the Geneva Centre, formally agree on the recommendations made in that study, which they've started to do, write the charters, get an implementation team, and then use the training with Ukraine, Tajikistan as pilot projects. So declare the centres open, have a soft opening, do the training you're already going to do under the framework of this, and then lock in multi-year arrangements with partners. So that was it. As I said, I approached the job with a bit of scepticism, but when I got there I saw that ANAMA was a huge program, well organised and run, and there were certain unique opportunities that would allow them to proceed with this idea of establishing a regional or international mine action centre. Thank you.
Excellent, Ian. A lot of very good ideas, a lot of food for thoughts for Samir and the team. And I'm really eager to have your comments on a lot of the question marks in Ian's feasibility study. But there was one name that kind of was repeated through all the slides, and that was Geneva, the Geneva International Center of Humanitarian Demining. So I think it's very appropriate that we have the program manager of the research and innovation team at GICHD with us, Pedro. Take it away. Eager to hear your reflections of what you've heard and what are the ambitions of GICHD. Thanks.
Thank you, Steiner. And first of all, I'd like to thank both UNDP and Azerbaijan. Samir, thank you very much for the invitation to be part of this discussion. I think it's a very timely and very important discussion, also aligning with what GICHD is doing. I'd like to thank all the participants. It's very impressive to have such an audience at the last day of a long week at such an early hour. So that's it exceeded largely my expectations. It's wonderful. A lot of what I had to say and what is in the slides has been already shared to a large extent. So thanks so much as well, Rod and Ian, for making my life so much simple. And I've been listening to presentations for a while, so I'll try to be a bit shorter. In 2023, when the research and innovation program started taking off, GICHD did a bit of a desktop study and then complemented with the proceedings of the very innovation conference that we held at the end of the year to map what are the key challenges for innovation in the sector and I will not go through these again. Rodney summarized them very, very well. I would mention just maybe the most important one is this: we need to think about innovation as based on needs and based on problem statements that need to be solved. We need to continue thinking differently about innovation, not to see the technology or the flashy tool that might be trendy or might be interesting, but understand way better and make questions about what are the specific problems we need to solve. And once we are very clear about what are the problems we need to fix, then it is very, very easy to reach out to the wider international research and technology community to find appropriate solutions. And that's how we need to drive innovation. And we've been doing it sometimes better, sometimes less efficiently throughout the years. And I think it's the time now, with the challenges that we face, to do that much, much better. And that's where GICHD has been investing. So the way we look at innovation in the sector, innovation is a system. We adopt an innovation system approach, which means, as it has been said already, no single organization can steer, drive, or do all the work around innovation. We need the partnerships. We need to understand that all these organizations are in some way part of the innovation efforts. Not all of the partners need to be involved in some extent. And we also need to understand that the relationships between the partners are also part of the system, and that sometimes they are collaborative, sometimes they are competitive as well, and that's understandable, and that's normal, and we need to incorporate that in our way of work. Commercial companies and equipment manufacturers have a need to generate revenue. That's their fare, that's the way they have to work, and we need to bring this on board. They need to protect their intellectual property, and that's fair, that's their investment. We need to find a common ground with the international NGOs and national NGOs and national authorities that have needs, operational field needs to solve, and that they don't care about the revenue of the equipment manufacturers. That's also understandable. That's also natural, and we need to bring that on board. And research and academic organizations a lot of times look for a paper or advancing their own research work and having a standing. And that's also not 100% aligned all the times with the needs that we have in the field, but that's also a fair and a very just objective. Finding the common ground among all of these elements is not a linear work. It is a dynamic and a complex system, but we need to do this. And if we do this right, we can unlock and harness the power of innovation, and that's how we've been working. To do this, the GICHD has been working on the establishment of an innovation hub. You might have heard it already a few times this week. The innovation hub is a platform. It's a conceptual approach. It's not a physical facility or a specific office that we have. It is a group of all the members of the sector that are interested and engaged and want to be part of this effort. And listen, the concept of Innovation Hub is focused, or the heart of it is in technical advisory groups, which bring together members of all these different partnerships. And we have now, we've had already, this group is established. It's being co-chaired by GICHD and the Serbian Mine Action Center. And this group aligns to share information, to provide guidance to research, to identify the needs, which is our first priority at the moment, and then to define which research activities should we be doing to feed into this cycle. What are the missing gaps? What missing information do we have? Which innovation activities should we be doing? Conferences, workshops, the Innovation Award is another one that GICHD is putting out. And very importantly, testing and evaluation, which I'll mention later. This hub is established under 4 principles, and I think they summarize well what we've been saying. It needs to be needs-based. So we need to find the problems to solve before anything else. It is beyond technology. As I've said, and Rodney mentioned, it's no single tool will solve a problem without the proper method. Probably any new methodology will require new tools, and all of that is innovation if it solves a problem that we have in the field. And an example, we've launched an innovation award that is very little technologically focused. It's on risk management. There is a lot that can be done and improved on how we work with risk within the sector, and that's not a flashy tool. It's processes, it's methods, it's statistical modeling. Third principle, it's networked collaboration. So we need to be part of a network, and it's very interesting to see, and it's really important to have these different nodes in different places and to reach out to all resources that can be drawn into the sector, and it's inclusive, so there is no gatekeeping. Any of you interested in being part of the Innovation Technical Group is welcome to share your work and to learn from what we're doing and to take steps forward. Some of the most visible activities of the Innovation Hub have been, of course, the Innovation Conference in 23, the Innovation Session on AI that on artificial intelligence that we hosted in October last year is another example, and thank you, Rodney, for making a mention. It makes us very proud to see that our efforts have led to good ideas being generated and being pursued, and we have one very, very good example here from ARMAC. We have other examples from UNOPS. In South Sudan, and we have also some projects coming out of that event that generated additional funding to research and innovation, and which we will be pursuing and sharing ourselves. I've touched this slide, so I'm going to jump to the next point. What we also see from the work we've been doing so far, and these are maybe interesting points on where we feel there are gaps, and some of that has been mentioned already. Testing, evaluation, and accreditation life cycle, from very early moment understanding how we can steer research and development efforts at an early stage before there are huge sunken costs into developing something that's not fit for purpose. And we've been seeing this challenge heavily, and I think we have been discussing this already before, but in innovation session we've held in Kiev in February this year highlighted this again. There's a lot of good ideas and a lot of very capable people developing products already to a very advanced stage before understanding well the problems. And after those costs have been sunk, it's really difficult to accredit the tools, and it's really difficult to bring them back to restart the work. So the frameworks, the facilities and capacities, the test sites, the instrumentation, the test protocols, and the funding of test campaigns are an extremely important part of the research and innovation cycle. The sector has very good examples in the past on how to do this. Ian mentioned a lot of good examples with CTRO in Croatia being one of them. But I think there is a lot more that we need to do, especially looking into more more recent technologies such as remote sensing, all the different types of sensors that can be mounted on drones and robotics, that we need to be better at testing and screening and guiding the research and development efforts. We need to look into, and this is more not so much technological aspect, but really important as well, to be better at monitoring and evaluation of the impact of innovation. So which innovation key performance indicators we should have to make sure that the investments that we're doing to develop a new AI tool are actually paying off in the efficiency that we get in the field, making sure that we find this balance and that we have good indicators to showcase this innovation, this is paying off, this is worth investing and developing. That is needed. And lastly, it's been mentioned already as well, the funding or the business models that we need to look into to make sure that the pilot projects actually are able to scale. And this is quite a challenging aspect in a sector that it represents a relatively small market for product development. So there is some thought that needs to go into how do we roll out some of the new technologies or new methodologies in a way that they are actually sustainable into the future, that we don't end up with a tool that is actually fit for purpose, but that once it needs a repair or it needs a maintenance or it needs spare parts or it needs to be produced at a larger scale, there is no capacity. How do we fund this and how do we sustain these efforts? These are some of the points that we believe are quite crucial and where we believe that this initiative from Azerbaijan could contribute to closing the gaps. One last remark is that I think it's really important, and I welcome very much the initiative from Rodna into an AMAC on a regional node linked with Innovation Hub. We want all partners to be part of this network, and I think it's really important to have the regional hubs that can reach out to local universities, to local research and development capacities, local industries that help all the sector globally. So connecting all of this is really important. It's really important as well that we make sure in a sector that is so limited in funding that we don't duplicate efforts or that we avoid a level of duplication and that we specialize in areas where each can contribute with its best skills. And Ian mentioned this as well, which I was very, very happy to hear. And this is it from GICHD. Very happy to take any questions and to share more about the work of the Innovation Hub. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro. And very glad to see that research and innovation is such an important part of GICHD. Looking forward to learn more about the Innovation Hub, and maybe next year I will put something forward for the Innovation Reward, but I don't think I have any smart ideas for this year, but let's see. Okay, I'm very conscious about time because I am the moderator of the plenary session that you all are going to attend in 30 minutes. So we will try our best to stick to the time, but I really want to have comments, reflection, inputs to what you have heard. And in particular, eager to have your reflections on Azerbaijan's ambitions to set up an international center of excellence. Is there a need? Will you use it? What should I focus on? The floor is yours. Any reflections? Yes, please.
My name is Igor Kuzminic, and I am Country and Security Threats Officer in Program Office OSCE in Dushanbe. And we had mentioned our training center, and I am supervising this project and program. I want to say that last 10 years we were developing this regional training center. Just to correct, starting from 2024, it's not just for training militaries, but border troops, emergency situation officers, plus we are training FSD and NPA officers who are working in Tajikistan. This is a regional training center, and all 5 countries of Central Asia are participating in each of our courses. EOD 1, EOD 2, EOD 3 courses, PSSM and medical courses which are supporting, we are providing for these 5 countries. The only innovation I see now in our training center is the way of education. We are using interactive methods, and we are going through practice and through experience to understand how to work effective in the field. What I could propose, we built this training center from the ground. Starting from the idea, we designed and built facilities. We created together with URCENT American Armed Forces, we created curriculums, prepared trainers, and starting from 2024, only Tajik instructors are working in this training center. So we have good experience of development of this center. If you will be interested in, and we have connections with other Central Asian countries, and we developed very slowly these connections, as you can understand. So if you need our experience, we will be happy to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Any other reflections, comments? Any final words from the panelists? Yes, please.
Yes, Giovanni Giustino from CEIA, the industry. I have attended all the 3 events in Baku, and I am also a sort of veteran of the symposium, humanitarian symposium in Croatia. So I'd like to ask, when is planned the next conference? Because for us, the industry is very important, this kind of opportunity for
Giovanni, you personally were always glad to see in Azerbaijan, no matter events or no
Thank
events.
you.
But with regards to events, we had to cancel due to some reasons. We had to postpone it this year. We're not able to do this in May, as we always did, but maybe in autumn, after the summer. And if that's the case, we will make sure all the people are informed well in advance, and you will be the first on the list.
Thank you very much.
Super. Yeah, it is a very useful, informative conference, the one in Baku and up in the field. So I agree with you. I'm looking forward to the invitation. Okay, any other final reflections? If not, I would just, yes, please.
To give time to the audience to think about a few questions, I can make one between us, which I think would be interesting to share. Rather, how is ARMAC working with the very strong academic university and technology environment that Southeast Asia has, being one of the engines of the region and and maybe soon to be the world?
Actually, so far, we're not yet working in academic university, but we're working with some of the companies, software engineer in our region from Singapore. Yes, they have very strong background and knowledge, and especially linked to my action. They very understand our situation in the region and beyond that, so, yeah.
Super, thank you for that. We are a bit pressed on time, and I'm eager to conclude. So unless somebody, if you, are you happy? No. So just to conclude, I think there's no other country in the world that is really better placed to serve and establish international center of excellence. They have national will, they have national ownership, and maybe most important, they have the financial muscles to do it properly. But as all the panelists have said, this cannot be done in isolation. We need all your support, we need your advice, we need to agree on the needs, the niche. And yeah, I wish ANAMA, the government of Azerbaijan, good luck with the establishment of the center. And again, thank you for co-hosting this event. Thank you to all of you for your early morning start. Please pick up a coffee and please be ready in the plenary for the next session. It's a critical session, as you all know. It's the reporting back from the national authorities. They had a very interesting breakout session last evening. So thank you so much all for coming. Thank you, panelists.